Macron calls Hamas attacks biggest anti-Semitic massacre of our century.
Here's a summary of the article.
The French president, Emmanuel Macron, has called the 7th of October attacks by Hamas on Israel the biggest anti-Semitic massacre of our century, as he led a ceremony paying tribute to the French victims. Macron described the attacks by the Palestinian militant group as barbarism which is fed by anti-Semitism and propagates it. France would fight every day to bring about the release of the hostages held since the 7th of October, Macron said. The ceremony at the Invalides Memorial Complex in Paris was the first major international memorial event outside Israel since the Hamas attacks 4 months ago. The ceremony remembered the 42 French citizens killed in the attacks and the 3 others still missing, believed to be held hostage. Ayla Yahalomi Luzon, the sister of another French Israeli presumed hostage, Ohad Yahalomi, said, "We don't need people to hope for us. I have hope. We need help. Ohad is a French citizen and I ask France to make all efforts to release him and everyone." There was controversy over some of the politicians attending the Paris ceremony, with many families of French victims saying they did not want to see figures from Jean-Luc Mélenchon's left-wing party, La France Insoumise, accusing it of failing to sufficiently denounce the 7th of October attacks and term Hamas a terror group.
This post received a score of 5,500, with an upvote ratio of 80%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Technically true. Minuscule compared to the previous century.
True. 6 million vs 1200. It's madness that today people are denying either happened.
They deny it even though the people who did it admitted they did it. It's peak stupidity. Reminds me of that Onion video where Al-Qaeda is upset that conspiracy nuts weren't giving them credit for 9/11. Found it. Edit. Apparently it actually happened IRL too. Al-Qaeda to Iran. Stop spreading 9/11 conspiracy theory.
The moment where he almost gave up Osama's location made me lose it. His look and pause and recorrecting himself. I don't know how these actors can do that with a straight face.
I mean, well, duh.
Biggest anti-Semitic massacre of our century so far.
It's literally true unless anyone know of another bigger anti-Jewish attack in the last 24 years.
Precisely why Hamas faces total annihilation along with their fascist ideas.
So at what point is Hamas considered defeated? Their numbers indicate they have around 45,000 fighters and the current death toll including civilians is 27,585. At what point is it done? When the death toll hit 45,000. Because Israel claims they only target Hamas. When the entirety of Palestine is rubble. What's the end point?
Typically, a war ends when one side surrenders.
Insurgency groups generally do not do this, unfortunately.
Hamas is the sitting government of Gaza.
They started out as an insurgency group. They can go back to being an insurgency group easy enough given that they've basically been acting like one the whole time anyway. Especially given that, as I understand it, Hamas leaders aren't even in Gaza anyway. Emo Hamas is likely to go the way of ISIS, considerably weakened, but never actually giving up, and with the potential that it might begin to rise again, like ISIS are doing ATM unfortunately.
Israel can deal with an insurgency group next door? They can't deal with a government that receives billions of dollars of outside money to build weapons and underground infrastructure.
Can someone name me anything worse? The brutality of these attacks was on another level.
I mean, even as an Israeli Jew I must say that the Middle East is brutal, and that there are so many terrible massacres taking place nowadays that no one cares about. Just read about Eritrea and understand what I mean. Terrible, terrible atrocities on a massive scale. But practically no one even knows that Eritrea exists.
No one knows it exists because that Eritrean war has maintained a strict communications dead zone. Electronic devices going in or out of the area are seized or destroyed and there is no cell signal or internet. The few accounts we have of the horrors are just the tip of the iceberg of what's gotten out. But sadly we won't know how bad it actually was until the world is allowed back in with full connectivity.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.